I never thought betrayal would be so quiet. We imagined screaming, broken things, big dramatic scenes. But for me, it was just silence. A heavy silence that settled deep in my chest and just wouldn't leave. It all started on a totally normal evening. I came home a bit early, exhausted from work, just wanting to crash. The apartment looked the same, but it felt off, like someone had moved things around just slightly. My wife, Lena, was in the shower. Her phone was on the kitchen counter, buzzing. I'm not the type to snoop. I've always believed in trust. But this gut feeling, sharp and sudden, told me to look. One glance and my world went cold. The name on the screen was Victor Halle, her director. I knew the guy. I knew that arrogance. What I didn't know was how tangled up he already was in my life. The messages weren't love poems. They were careless, cruel. Plans for meetings that were clearly not about work. Jokes about me, about how predictable and safe I was. I sat there, scrolling through weeks of this. The sound of the shower in the background like a cruel joke. By the time Lena came out, smiling, wrapped in a towel, something inside me had just switched off. I didn't say a word. Not that night, not the next day. I've built a career on solving problems quietly. I knew that a big explosion without a plan is just pointless noise. I needed leverage, and Victor was the kind of guy who thought he was untouchable. His company sold ethical compliance, which is tragically ironic. Behind the scenes, it was a mess of dirty deals and shady accounting. I used to work in that world. I still had contacts, people who owed me favors. So while Lena kept up the act at home, I started digging. Late nights, encrypted calls. I found it all. Offshore accounts, buried audits, and a long list of quiet settlements for his inappropriate relationships. Victor wasn't just reckless. He was arrogant, and arrogant people leave trails. The biggest discovery, though, wasn't about Lena. It was about Victor's wife, Marianne. She was a sharp legal analyst who'd stepped back to support his career. Publicly, she was the perfect, elegant wife. Privately, she'd been noticing weird things in their finances for years. But men like Victor always assume their wives won't look too closely. I arranged to meet her. A charity event, a shared table, polite small talk. I casually mentioned a financial trick I knew Victor used and watched her face. She didn't react much then, but 2 days later she asked me for coffee. I didn't need to be dramatic. I just showed her the documents, the patterns, the proof. Her silence was heavy, but when she spoke she was calm and precise. She wanted it all verified. And then she would act. It wasn't some cheap revenge affair. It was an alliance. Two people, wronged in different ways, united by a cold, clear purpose. While Victor was distracted, putting out fires at work and dealing with tension at home, Marianne got her ducks in a row, legally and financially. I just gave a few quiet nudges here and there. Lena felt the change before she understood it. Credit cards started getting declined. Victor's calls became less frequent, less confident. Panic set in. She accused me of being distant. I'd just apologize, not meaning a word of it. The end came fast. Anonymous tips led to an internal investigation. Investors pulled out. His accounts were frozen. Marianne filed for divorce with a mountain of evidence. In less than a week, Victor was escorted out of the company he built. Lena came home that night completely broken, clutching a box from her office. She tried to explain, to confess just enough to save herself. I let her talk until she ran out of words. And when I finally told her I knew everything, there was no fight. Just quiet defeat. Our marriage ended on paper soon after. No drama. I was too prepared for that. Months later, Victor was buried in legal trouble. Lena moved away to start over, and Marianne? She rebuilt her life with surgical precision. Guys like Victor thrive in chaos and secrets. All I did was turn on the lights. Sometimes I think about what would have happened if I'd chosen anger over patience. But real power isn't about shouting. Betrayal taught me that if people underestimate your silence, they'll never see what's coming. Thanks for listening.